The sound of her suitcase wheels bumping down the hallway hit harder than I expected. Each thud felt like a countdown I hadn't agreed to. I was standing in the kitchen, holding my coffee like it was an anchor, watching her move like I was invisible. She didn't even flinch when I asked, "You sure about this?" No hesitation, no guilt. Just a breezy, "It's just a week in Key West. With Steve." Then she paused, gave me that smirk that made my spine crawl, and added, "Don't look so hurt. It's not like we're in love." Then she turned, halfway out the door, and delivered the line that snapped something in me clean. "Real men don't whine." The front door slammed before I could blink. I didn't say a word, didn't shout, didn't beg. Just stood there with that mug in my hand while the heat from the ceramic bled into my palm. I hadn't heard from Steve since 1986, and now he's the beachfront buddy my wife's flying off to reconnect with? Cute. It was in that moment, absurdly domestic, hauntingly quiet, that something in my head shifted, like a rusted switch finally snapping into a new position. Let me be clear, I'm 64, retired Navy engineer. I don't do drama. I don't post vague quotes online or go crying to my friends. But I do have time, discipline, and 26 years of experience living with a woman who thinks I can't read subtext. I poured the rest of the coffee down the drain. I wasn't going to need it anymore. She thinks this is a game, a flex, a break to make me panic and prove my worth. She thinks I'll sit here, marinate in shame, and wait for her to come back with a tan and a suitcase full of passive-aggressive comments. She doesn't know me at all. The first thing I did? Open the safe. Not to cry over memories or smell the last birthday card she gave me. I pulled out our marriage paperwork. Bank statements. That dusty, yellowing prenup she thought I'd forgotten. She never asked what I did on the days I didn't fish or see the guys. That was her first mistake. Now listen, I'll share this story for a reason. Not for pity, not for applause, but because I know some of you are standing in a kitchen right now, just like I was, realizing your marriage is only standing because you are holding it up. And one more thing, if you're the kind of man who values dignity more than disaster, you're not alone. By the way, 98% of people who watch these stories never subscribe. If you're one of them, it takes 2 seconds to hit that button, and it means a hell of a lot more than you think. It keeps this crew running. Back to the story. I spent the next hour walking through the house, not like a husband, but like an auditor. Noticed what was mine, what was ours, and what had always been hers, no matter how many anniversaries she tagged my name in. The art above the fireplace? Hers. That ridiculous hand-carved rocking chair in the sunroom I was never allowed to sit in? Hers. The guest room filled with her yoga crap and unopened inspirational books? All hers. You see, Karen was never messy. Her betrayal was tidy, clean, calculated, which meant my revenge had to be cleaner. By noon, I'd cleared half her side of the closet. Not with anger, with intent. Like I was preparing for surgery. I kept the wedding photo on the dresser. I wanted it there, like a crime scene photo pinned above a detective's desk. Evidence of a time I played along. Evidence of my own blindness. I remember sitting on the edge of the bed that night, house empty except for the hum of the old ceiling fan, and thinking, this time, she's not coming back to the same house. She's coming back to a stranger's terms. And Steve? Oh, Steve was going to have a very interesting conversation soon. I opened the safe not like a man betrayed, but like a man reviewing blueprints before demolition. The lock clicked open with a satisfying thunk, and inside, neatly stacked, was the anatomy of a marriage that had quietly been hemorrhaging for years. Top shelf, our marriage license. Below that, my Navy pension paperwork. Then came the real gold, property titles, 2 vehicle registrations, for bank account summaries, and 1 manila envelope with a coffee stain in the top corner. That one, the prenup, signed in '97, notarized, and, until that moment, utterly forgotten by the woman who thought real men don't whine, would be the end of the conversation. I laid everything out on the dining table like a forensic tech at a crime scene. Karen always underestimated how precise I could be. 26 years of being the boring engineer had lulled her into thinking I didn't notice the small things. She used to say I was obsessed with order. No, Karen. I was trained to see patterns. First, the bank records. 2 joint checking accounts. But her Amazon Prime receipts didn't line up with the monthly outflow. So where were the other charges coming from? Then the credit card bills. I cross-referenced them with dates from her old photos and cryptic captions. Sometimes a little sun is all you need, sun with face. That one was tagged in Boca Raton. The same week, $1,742 was charged to a boutique hotel I'd never heard of. On a card I wasn't listed on. She'd opened a separate account last spring. Not in secret, just not where she thought I'd look. Wells Fargo. Her maiden name. Linked to a consulting payment from someone named S.J. Drummond. Steve. I felt a strange calm wash over me. Not rage. Not heartbreak. More like clarity sharpening into a blade. Next came the assets. The house. In both names. But I bought it before we married. A detail she always tried to muddle when it came up at parties. The title said otherwise. I circled it in red. The cars? Mine paid in full. Hers leased. The furniture? Mostly hers, gaudy and loud. Like the voice she used when she wanted people to think we were a perfect couple. I made a column labeled, donatable. But the best part? The prenup. She had insisted on it back then, just to be safe. Ironically, it stated clearly, infidelity voids claim to spousal support. I read that line twice, underlined it, and chuckled. Then came the forgotten drawers. There was a velvet box Karen had hidden inside the safe, one I'd never noticed. Inside, a set of silver earrings and a note written in someone else's handwriting. To the girl who never changed. S. Cute. Keepsakes from her high school sweetheart. Tucked beside our marriage paperwork. By midnight, I had 3 folders. One for the lawyer. One for me. One labeled Karen for her records. Not because I was being generous. Because I wanted her to know just how much I already knew. I wanted her to open that folder and realize this wasn't an emotional reaction. It was an audit. She liked quoting vague crap about manifesting peace. Well, I was manifesting too. Page by page. By the time I turned off the lights, the safe was empty. But my plan, just getting started. The next morning, I woke up to silence so sharp it could split wood. No Karen stomping down the hallway in slippers she never washed. No blender roaring at 7:30 for her green goddess detox. Just the ceiling fan ticking, like a metronome keeping time for the man I used to be. I opened the closet and stared at the battleground. Her side was a chaos of silky blouses she never wore, heels she swore she needed, and those overpriced handbags she said were investments. One by one, I took everything down. Not out of rage. Out of efficiency. I folded nothing. Bagged everything. Called a local women's shelter and told them I had 3 large garbage bags of brand-name clothes, barely worn. They asked why I was giving them away. I said, because she's not coming back. And if she does, she won't recognize this place. Her scent still lingered in the fabrics. That powdery perfume she wore even to bed. I left the closet door open when I was done, half to let the air circulate, half so I could watch it empty like a wound healing. Then I walked through the house with a yellow notepad in hand. Each item got a checkmark or an X. Her favorite leather chaise lounge, the one she made me move 3 times because it didn't vibe with the room? Gone. Donated to Habitat for Humanity. The little fiddle leaf fig she watered like it was a firstborn child? Pulled it out of the ceramic pot and dumped it in the compost pile. Replanted the pot with a cactus. Didn't even bother dusting off the dirt. The Himalayan salt lamp? The one she swore helped her center? Tossed it in the trash bin like expired milk. It wasn't just about clearing space. It was about reclaiming it. Every corner I swept, every candle I boxed, every frame quote she bought from those soulless Instagram homeware stores, it all became a brick in the new foundation. That afternoon, I canceled the last joint credit card. The woman on the phone hesitated. Are you sure, Mr. Delaney? It looks like this account has a strong usage history. Oh. Exactly. Click. At 5:14 p.m., she posted another photo from Key West. Windblown hair, oversized sunglasses, a glass of wine held just so. Caption. Some things aren't meant to be caged of. Oh, I agreed. Some things aren't meant to come back either. I watched the loading truck back into our driveway an hour later. The driver was a young guy named Ben who said, "Man, this stuff's nice. Somebody moving in or out?" Out, I said. And she doesn't know it yet. He laughed. I didn't. He and his team hauled off her furniture like it was junk mail. The tufted headboard? Gone. The mirrored vanity she couldn't live without? Out the door. I tipped him double. Told him to make sure it all ended up at the donation center by nightfall. I didn't bother photographing the empty rooms. I didn't need the memory. The house felt different already. Echoes bounced differently. I lit a cigar that night on the back porch, something she never let me do. Watched the sky go orange and listened to the wind whisper through the screens. There was still work to do. But the message was becoming clear. Not just to her, she hadn't seen it yet, but to me. I wasn't the man sipping coffee anymore, confused and cornered. I was the one clearing the stage. So the real performance could begin. The office was in a restored brick building just off Market Street. Quiet, professional, with windows that let the afternoon sun do most of the talking. No flashy signage, no gold lettering screaming divorce. Just a small plaque by the door that read, R. McConnell, Family Law. That was enough. Inside, the air smelled like espresso and pine-scented floor polish. The receptionist offered me water. I declined. My hands were full, with evidence, with intent. The lawyer stepped out of her office a minute later. Early 40s, navy blazer, no nonsense. She looked like the kind of woman who sends emails that ruin weekends. Mr. Delaney? Michael. She extended a hand. Rachel, let's get started. I liked her already. In her office, I opened the black folder I'd prepped. No dramatic music, no monologue. Just a clean series of papers. Prenup, signed and notarized. Printouts of joint accounts, with withdrawals circled in red. Bank statement from her secret account under her maiden name. Screenshots of public posts, timestamps, geotags, and the comments that told stories she thought no one would bother reading. I slid them across the table. She scanned them like a surgeon reviewing a CT scan. Is she contesting anything yet? She doesn't know she's lost yet. Rachel smirked. Just enough to reveal a dimple. Let's make it clean. And fast. She asked if I wanted to serve papers now or let her twist in the wind a little longer. Delay it. I'm setting a few more pieces in place. She nodded once. Strategic separation it is. I'll prep the asset freeze and residency claim. When she gets back, she'll feel like she came home to a house that doesn't recognize her name. I left her office lighter, but not in the cathartic sense people talk about. This wasn't healing. This was preparation. I was halfway to the truck when my phone buzzed. Instagram notification. Karen had posted again. This time, a photo of her feet in the sand, mojito in hand, toenails freshly painted. Caption: when you let go, you grow dizzy. The irony could have killed a lesser man. She had no idea how much she was about to grow. Out of the house. Out of my finances. Out of the role she thought she could keep playing while I stayed in the background, holding the flashlight like some emotional handyman. I stopped by the locksmith next. Picked out a new set of locks. Digital, programmable, unhackable. He said, "You expecting trouble?" "No," I said. "I'm making sure it doesn't think it can walk back in." That night, I moved the folders to the fireproof box in the garage. Double-checked the digital backups. Updated my will. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't flailing. I was building a machine. And soon, she'd walk right into it. One step at a time. And the next step? A quiet visit to someone I'd been meaning to meet for years. Someone who probably hated Steve even more than I did. The drive took 45 minutes. I didn't blast music. Didn't rehearse what I'd say. Just let the hum of the tires work like a metronome while my thoughts lined up into place. Her neighborhood was the kind of suburban perfection Karen always mocked. Neat lawns, mailboxes with fake ivy decals, and wind chimes that rang like they had something to prove. I parked in front of a beige two-story with a tidy porch and a ceramic welcome sign that probably hadn't minted in years. The doorbell was a gentle chime, not the aggressive buzz I expected. A few seconds later, it opened. She looked exactly as I imagined. Early 50s, composed, wearing a slate gray cardigan and pearl earrings. There was nothing flashy about her, just a quiet precision. The kind of woman who doesn't just dust the baseboards but rotates the silverware in the drawer every 3 months. She tilted her head slightly. "Can I help you?" "Yes," I said. "My name's Michael Delaney. I believe our spouses have something in common." Her expression didn't change right away. She just blinked once. Then again. "Steve," she asked. I nodded. The corner of her mouth twitched. Not a smile. Not yet. More like the beginning of something thawing. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. "I've been waiting for this." Her living room smelled like fresh coffee and lavender wood polish. There were framed watercolor prints on the wall, a bookshelf arranged by height, and not a single cushion out of place. A woman who'd built her life to survive chaos. I respected that. She gestured to the couch. "You're the husband?" "I Saturday, Karen, and I have been married for 26 years. She nodded slowly. "Steve and I passed 15 last fall." "You here to rage or to strategize?" I almost laughed. "Strategize." Now she smiled. A tight, knowing curve. "I'm Dana," she said. "And Steve's been sloppy for years." "But your wife?" "She's a new flavor." She poured coffee without asking, handed it to me, then walked to the mantel and picked up a small wooden box. Opened it. Inside were photographs. Old Polaroids. A few printouts. Some phone screenshots. "Every woman he's ever said was just a friend," she said. "Karen started popping up a year ago. He tried to hide it. He always tries, but I know the cadence. His tells. His rhythms." I leaned forward. "You kept records?" She nodded. "Of course. I'm not the screaming type. I'm the patient type." We spent the next 40 minutes laying out timelines like a military op timestamps from Karen's social media. Steve's consulting trips. Bank withdrawals. Texts Dana intercepted. Receipts she pulled from his wallet while he showered. It was all there. Not just proof of the affair, but the pattern. "I'm not trying to ruin her," I said. "I'm trying to remove her. Quietly. Permanently." Dana stirred her coffee, slowly. Then we were in alignment. She stood up and left the room. Came back holding a folder with her name embossed on the cover. Inside, a temporary residential proxy form, notarized. "I'll need to stay at your house for at least 30 days to establish standing," she said. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. I'm clean. No criminal record. No financial liabilities. If she tries to force her way back in, I'm a legal resident." I stared at her for a moment. "You do that?" Dana looked me square in the eye. "That man made me into a ghost. I'm ready to be the haunting." We shook hands. No dramatic vows, no speeches. Just an agreement between two people who'd been run over by the same bus, different wheels. By the time I left her house, the sun was low. I didn't feel angry. I felt armed. Not with weapons. With alignment. She was the one variable Karen didn't see coming. And soon, she'd be standing inside the house Karen thought was still hers. Waiting. By Monday morning, the symphony of drills and boots began. I'd scheduled it down to the hour. 3 contractors, staggered over 2 days, each with one job and no curiosity. The first swapped out the locks. Not just the front door, every entry point. Back porch, garage, even the useless little side door Karen always said was charming. Gone. Replaced with smart locks, fingerprint access, and a master override code only I knew. The second installed the security system. Motion sensors. Indoor cameras. Not because I expected her to break in, because I wanted evidence when she tried. The third guy was a painter, finishing up the guest room. Neutral tones, new bedding, spotless. No trace of the soft pink Karen had insisted on last year when she said her cousin might visit. That room now belonged to Dana. She moved in quietly Tuesday evening. 1 suitcase, 1 laptop bag, and the calm focus of someone who's rehearsed the moment in her mind for months. No drama. No hesitations. She walked through the house like it was a chessboard, and she already knew the last move. We didn't talk much that night. We didn't need to. I showed her the access code, the filing cabinet in the office where I kept the documents, and the coffee maker she was welcome to use. She nodded at each thing like a soldier being shown her post. The only time she smiled was when she opened the linen closet and saw Karen's embroidered towels missing. "They always monogram things they think they own," she said. I left her to settle in and stood out on the porch, watching the neighborhood hum along like nothing was different. Mrs. Glasser next door waved from her hydrangeas. "Y'all doing a little redecorating?" "Just clearing out some clutter," I said. She smiled and went back to pruning. That was the beauty of it. Everything looked ordinary from the outside. Fresh paint. Upgraded lights. Dana's car parked neatly in the driveway, like any house guest. But inside, the balance had shifted. Every item in the house now had a purpose. Every drawer was checked. Every room reassigned. I moved my things into the master bedroom alone. Dana took the guest room. We weren't pretending. This wasn't a charade. This was legal, documented, enforceable. That night, she handed me a copy of the residential affidavit. Signed, notarized, witnessed by her own attorney. I'm officially a resident now, she said. If your wife comes back before the freeze is finalized, she'll have to go through me. I raised my glass of bourbon. To strategic living. She clinked her tea against mine. To tactical eviction. We didn't laugh. We didn't need to. By Friday, I transferred Karen's name off the shared utilities. Canceled her subscriptions. Forwarded her mail to a P.O. box she didn't know existed. Her name was slowly evaporating from the house like smoke from a fire that had already gone out. And the most satisfying part? She was still in Key West, uploading filtered nonsense. Real peace comes when you stop looking back, waterwave. Sometimes a tan is worth 1,000 apologies. Sun with face tropical drink. Meanwhile, her return ticket was getting closer. She'd walked back into a house where her keys didn't fit, and another woman answered the door. But not another woman. The woman. The one who knew Steve better than Karen ever would. The one who didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't threaten. The one who just moved in. Legally. And wasn't going anywhere. She arrived on a Tuesday evening, the kind of humid southern dusk that makes everything feel heavier than it is. The Uber pulled up like it always had, the same way she expected the driveway to still be hers. She stepped out wearing oversized sunglasses, 10 lines carved into her skin, dragging a suitcase that looked like it hadn't rolled through a single ounce of regret. She paused at the curb, took a deep breath, and smiled at the house. Probably imagined I'd be inside, pacing in shame, ready to kiss the ground she walked on. Maybe even prepared to grovel, beg, or, her favorite fantasy, apologize. Instead, she hummed a tune, Fleetwood Mac, of course, and made her way to the porch. She reached into her purse, pulled out her keys, and jabbed one confidently into the deadbolt. Twist. Nothing. Again. Nothing. She froze. Looked at the key like it was wrong. Tried the other door. Same result. Then came the knocking. First polite. Then irritated. Then full-blown banging. Michael. Open the damn door. Are you serious right now? The humming was gone. After a long minute, the lock clicked from inside. The door creaked open 2 inches. But it wasn't me standing there. It was Dana. Calm. Composed. Dressed like she'd just come from a book club meeting, not a battlefield. Her expression was unreadable, but not unfriendly. Just tired. Karen blinked. Took a full step back. What the hell? Dana opened the door the rest of the way. You must be Karen. Karen's face twisted, that same smug confusion I'd seen so many times when the world didn't spin on her cue. Where's my husband? Dana handed her a crisp manila envelope. Not here. Karen looked down. Legal header. Her name. Case number. And a very clear, bold title. Notice of temporary residential transfer and litigation hold. What the hell is this? She snapped. Dana stepped onto the porch. It means you don't live here right now. And you're trespassing. Karen laughed. That panicked, shrill kind of laugh people use when reality slaps them too fast. You're kidding me. You can't just. I can, Dana said, calm as ever. I'm a legal resident. Your husband, soon-to-be ex, granted me temporary tenancy. Everything's been filed. Verified. Witnessed. Karen's voice cracked. You're Steve's crazy wife, aren't you? Dana didn't flinch. Not crazy. Just thorough. The porch light flicked on automatically as the sun dipped below the trees. Karen looked around like the house itself had betrayed her. She caught sight of the new keypad lock, the missing flower pots, the empty porch swing. Her world was slowly crumbling, and it hadn't even hit the floor yet. I want to speak to Michael. Dana reached into her pocket and handed over a folded note. On the outside, for Karen. Karen unfolded it with jerky fingers. It read, Karen, you said real men don't whine. Good news. I didn't. I acted. Check with your attorney. And check your account balances while you're at it. You'll find everything you left is exactly where you left it. Except the control. That's gone. Karen's hand dropped to her side. The note fluttered to the porch floor. Dana took a small step forward. There's a bench at the end of the street if you need to make calls. I'd do it before the sheriff comes. Because if you step inside this house again without clearance. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Karen picked up her suitcase slowly. Still stunned. Still reeling. The porch door closed behind her with the finality of a verdict. She looked around like someone trying to wake up from a dream. But the nightmare was real, and she hadn't even seen the worst of it yet. Karen sat on the curb like a war widow who hadn't yet accepted the telegram. Her suitcase tipped beside her, half open, a few toiletries spilling out like the contents of a broken identity. Dana didn't follow her out. She didn't have to. The door was shut, locked, defended not by violence, but by legal structure so cold and precise it might as well have been steel reinforced. Karen dug out her phone with the jittery fingers of someone who's starting to realize she miscalculated the battlefield. She tapped through her apps, starting, of course, with the joint bank account. The one she used to book flights and massages in Key West. The one that once made her feel invincible. Error. Account not found. She blinked. Tried again. Same result. Switched to the savings account. No access. Insufficient permissions. She laughed. A dry, croaky sound that didn't reach her eyes. Then she dialed me. Voicemail. Then she tried to log into our mortgage account. Credentials invalid. Then her email pinged. From Michael Delaney. Subject, clarity. Message. Karen. I'm not ignoring you. I'm simply prioritizing peace. Check with your attorney before you escalate anything. This property is under litigation freeze. That includes access, occupancy, and financial claims. Your name has been legally suspended from all joint holdings pending dissolution. Take care of yourself. Truly. M. That was the moment. Not the locked door. Not Dana's composure. Not even the bank account purge. That email, the tone of it, landed harder than any insult she could have imagined. Not rage. Not begging. Just cool, irrefutable distance. She stood abruptly, nearly falling over. Grabbed her suitcase, dragging it by one handle as the wheels clattered against the sidewalk like bones on pavement. Her lips moved silently as she counted off names in her head. Friends? All her girls had already taken sides in whatever narrative she'd spun during margaritas. Family? Her sister was tired of the drama. Steve? Oh, Steve was definitely unavailable. Because Steve was about to experience his own reckoning. Her mind was scrambling. She opened Uber. Battery, 9%. Nearest ride, 12 minutes. 12 minutes in exile. She sat back down on the curb, checked her reflection in the phone screen. Mascara smudged. Lip gloss faded. Tin already starting to peel. A woman who thought she could turn betrayal into empowerment had just discovered what real power looked like. And it wasn't a filtered Instagram post. It was a spreadsheet. A prenup. A notarized affidavit. She'd flown out thinking she had leverage. She came back to find she'd been audited, ejected, and erased efficiently. Across the street, a neighbor stepped onto their porch with a bowl of cereal, glanced over, then went back inside without waving. Even the neighborhood was turning its back. By the time the Uber pulled up, she was pale under the tan. Her voice cracked, giving the driver her destination, her friend Becky's place. Maybe, if Becky still answered. As the car rolled away, the house disappeared in the rearview. And for the first time in a long time, Karen wasn't the center of the story. She was just another name on a form she never thought anyone would read. I chose the coffee shop deliberately. Not a tucked-away place, but a well-trafficked corner spot where retirees linger with crossword puzzles and over-tipped waitstaff know everyone by name. It was neutral ground, civilian territory, a place where explosions look worse on the one doing the yelling. She walked in fast, like she had a script in her head, hair tied back like it was wartime, oversized sunglasses even though it was cloudy out. When she spotted me, she yanked them off with a theatrical swipe and stomped toward my table. You're ruining everything, she spat before she'd even sat down. I didn't flinch. I took another sip of my espresso. No sugar, no milk, just like the conversation we were about to have. I'm not ruining anything, I said calmly. I'm just ending what you started. She threw herself into the seat across from me and leaned in, her voice a sharp whisper that still turned heads. This is humiliating, Michael. Dana? Seriously? You let her move in. Let's be accurate, I said. I didn't let anyone do anything. I assigned temporary residency rights. It's legal. You'd know that if you'd called your attorney. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her fingers trembled slightly against her coffee cup, which she hadn't even ordered yet. You changed the locks. You cut the cards. You froze me out. And yet you had no problem freezing me out emotionally for years. I leaned in slightly. Difference is, I used paperwork. She sat back like I'd slapped her. People are talking, Michael, she hissed. You made a spectacle out of this. I looked around. A few eyes on us, not many. A barista pretending not to listen. No, Karen. You made a spectacle out of our marriage. All I did was introduce reality into the timeline. She stood suddenly, chair legs screeching. You think this is strength? Throwing your life away out of spite. I took one final sip of espresso, let it sit on my tongue. Bitter. Perfect. Real men don't whine, I said slowly. Deliberately. That's what you told me, remember? She froze. The words hit harder than she expected. I placed the empty cup down, neatly aligned it with the saucer, and stood. You went looking for freedom. You got it. But you don't get to come home to the safety net you set on fire. Michael. No, I stopped her mid-sentence. This isn't a conversation. It's closure. You're mistaking the end for a middle. She stood there shaking, half with rage, half with something she'd never admit. Fear. Not fear of me. Fear of consequence. I nodded to the waitress, dropped the 20 on the table. Keep the change. And then I walked out. Left her there, in a cafe full of strangers, clinging to the scraps of a script that no longer worked. The curtain was already down, but she hadn't realized the theater had been sold. It happened a week after the coffee shop. Quietly, cleanly, without fanfare. The way real endings do. Karen had been couch hopping, first at Becky's, then a hotel room she swore was temporary, on a Facebook status that got more likes than empathy. Her tan had faded. Her confidence followed. The bags under her eyes were darker than the designer ones she used to flaunt. Then, early Thursday morning, her car disappeared from the hotel lot. Not stolen, repossessed. She called the bank in a frenzy, only to find her name had been removed from the payment schedule weeks prior. The car was leased in both our names, but the final trigger was her own signature. The one she used when she rerouted our joint funds to book a beachfront suite with Steve. She stood there screaming into the void while the tow truck driver shrugged and drove off. An hour later, she got the call. Sheriff's Department. She had one chance to collect the rest of her belongings from the house. 10 minutes, supervised. Anything left behind would be considered forfeited. She didn't even have a ride. Dana declined to speak with her directly, but made it clear through her attorney that reentry would only be granted under legal escort, and only once. So she showed up in the back seat of an old friend's car, hair undone, eyes bloodshot, dressed in the same outfit she'd worn in 2 separate apology videos on Instagram that she promptly deleted. A county deputy waited on the sidewalk, checking his watch. You have 10 minutes, ma'am, he said. You'll be supervised. Nothing leaves unless it's already boxed. She tried to argue. Boxed by who? Homeowner's request, he said. And then she saw it. Dana, standing in the doorway, calm, dressed in denim and a linen shirt, clipboard in hand. And beside her, a man, mid-40s, friendly smile, hand resting lightly on the small of Dana's back. The new tenant. Her replacement. Not just in the house. In the story. Karen's throat clenched. What is this? Dana didn't flinch. This is what moving forward looks like. Inside, everything was gone. At least everything that had once belonged to her. The furniture? Donated. The photos? Stored. Her art pieces? Packed in labeled bins in the garage. She wasn't even allowed to touch them, just to point and request delivery. Every room she walked through echoed like a rebuke. She stepped out 10 minutes later, empty-handed, silent, escorted by the deputy like a guest who overstayed her welcome at a party she hadn't been invited to in the first place. And then he handed it to her. A plain white envelope. No name on the outside. Just a legal seal. Inside. Finalized divorce filing, effective immediately. Confirmation of the property sale. Closure of all shared accounts. A list of items in storage and a 30-day retrieval deadline. And a single, handwritten note on Navy cardstock. Karen, you chose your vacation. I chose my peace. Neither of us is going back. Michael. She stood there on the sidewalk as the deputy walked back to his cruiser and the front door closed for the last time. Not with a slam, but a click. Precise. Permanent. Neighbors peeked from windows. One waved politely. Another closed their blinds. Karen clutched the envelope like it could still be rewritten. Like there was a version of this where the music played and the door opened and anyone, asked her what she wanted. But that version, it never existed. She'd spent years writing the script, and Michael simply changed the ending.